Today we are going to be looking at not just the new campaign frames in Daggerheart for Hope and Fear, but all of the campaign frames, and I'm going to be doing a tier list to see which ones are my favourite, it's subjective, not the best, and which ones are the ones that I wish were better. And we're going to be doing like a bit of a dive into the inner workings of the new campaign frames, there's 4 of them, and there may be spoilers, there may be some spoilers. So, you know, if you really don't want to know anything about the campaign frames, either the old ones or the new ones, there's going to be some small stuff. Here is, I'm going to get the comments that I always get, which is get an ad blocker. I have one, they're still getting through somehow. But also, you know, I get paid by ads. My living is through ads, so. There is a big download button that is always on the screen here, but that's fine. You should 100% change it to say subscribe when you, yeah, the download button. Here's the game plan. I have every single Daggerheart campaign frame down here. For anyone who doesn't know about Daggerheart or is interested in it but hasn't picked up the core rulebook, these campaign frames, I like to describe them as mini settings. That's kind of where I'm come around. They're less settings and more genres a lot of the time, but with the new book that's just come out, it feels more like they're leaning into a setting vibe, which I like. I find the new ones very useful. I like the direction they're going into. But usually the campaign frame is about, I think the smallest one is 8 pages, and they can go up to 20 pages, so they're little snapshots. They will be this is a Western, or this is a wizard school in the sky, or this is a post-apocalyptic thing, or this is a sci-fi thing. And it would give you some information about a world, and it will give you some information about the people that live in the world, and it will give you some mechanics that you can use that are different from vanilla Daggerheart, and it will give you some ideas, some plot hooks for the adventure, and inciting incident, as they call it, which is how an adventure could kickstart and kind of get started. So they're there to just give you a jumping off point. And I think they're really, really cool. I think some are better than others. So what better place to talk about them in detail than a tier list? We'll say that S tier is the best of the best. This is a really good campaign frame, and this is how I want to see it moving forwards. This is what I want them to do. It doesn't necessarily mean it's perfect, it's just the best right now we have. So this tier list could move down if we get campaign frames in the future. A tier it's a fantastic campaign. I would play this, it's really fun. Maybe there's slight room for improvement, or maybe it's just not my vibe. B tier is, you've got to do a little bit more work as a GM to make this good, to make it happen. I wish there was this or this in there. C tier is this let me down. Maybe if it's for you, you'd like it, but I think in general it could be a lot better. And D is it's just plain bad. It's just plain bad. Let's start with the new campaign frames, and we'll start with Journey to Horizon, which is this one here. Now, I'm going to go into some details here, like I said, for these new ones, because they're brand new, and I'm finding them really interesting. This one is Lord of the Rings meets Fallout, is the vibe I got. It's set in the world of Valoran. It's very high fantasy, but it's a post-apocalypse. The PCs have been locked away in these, Fallout vaults, but magical ones, for hundreds of years, if not 1,000 years. I don't think it gives an exact time. There's a bunch of vaults like this, a bunch of these settlements all around the map. So you can have some fun with that, some of these vaults fail to protect it from the apocalyptic world, and they're kind of messed up in some way. Some opened early, some are still closed, but pretty much 1,000 years ago, there was this apocalyptic event, and all these places were sealed and safe, and now the kind of threat's over, all these places are starting to open back up again. The goal for the player characters is that they need to travel around the map and find these 10, I think they're called soul echoes, is what they're called. There's 10 soul echoes. They need to find them all, and they'll be dotted all around the map. You will be putting them everywhere. And then once they have all 10, they will go to the final location, which is Horizon, and save the world. It is pretty much it. But it's got some really cool things going for it. I was really surprised by the world building here, and it really wears its inspirations like on its sleeve. For example, there's the Fallout stuff, which I think is really cool. But then there's just the Lord of the Rings level of, they have this device. They start off with the first Soul Echo. They just have to take this device across the land to a destination, which is Lord of the Rings. They're also being hunted by these dark, I can't remember what they're called, but they're these like, that's it, they're called Seekers in Shadow. And they're ring wraiths, fundamentally. And every time they interact with this magical device that's collecting these soul echoes, there's a chance that these creatures will know their exact location and come for them, which is really creepy and cool. The other thing I love about it is you start with the first soul echo at level 1, and then every time you collect another one, 10 in total, you level up. So there's a direct like mechanic for leveling up, which I really like. And narratively, that's why you're getting more powerful. And a little bit of spoiler territory here, even though it's completely up to you what you do, and your game may go very differently. But one of my favorite things about this is it says like the device you're using to collect these soul echoes from around the land can be anything you want. Some examples, just like a mundane item that doesn't really stand out, like a ring from Lord of the Rings. A device that obviously looks magical, that they have to like hide and keep hidden away from people because it's this very important thing they also like. And the third example was an infant or young child, which is like really cool. It's the idea that this human kid is this vessel that is absorbing these souls, and they've got to get this child across the land. And that feels a bit more like the Last of Us style thing, where like, you know, these adults are protecting this kid. But also what happens when the kid gets to the final location? Does the kid get sacrificed? Will one of the other characters have to like take their place? It's really, really cool. Oh my god, I love the grid on Journey to Horizon. Yeah, so it comes with, the whole point is it's a hex crawl. So it gives you this giant map and you can fill it out with these rollable tables that just build the world up as you go. And your players are going to be actively exploring them all. I should say there's a negative here because I want to put it in S for the world alone because I think it's really cool. And there's so much stuff in there that's very cool. Just as a setting. The hex crawl stuff isn't really my speed. If you like hex crawls, it's probably S for you. But I'm not that bothered about the hex crawl stuff. If I ran this campaign, I wouldn't rely so heavily on that. And I was kind of disappointed that the hex crawl mechanics are just kind of random number tables. I don't know, I was hoping for something a bit more substantial for journeying than just like roll to see what's in the next hex. That being said, just because it's not for me, maybe for you, I'm going to put it in A. I think A is fair. It would be S if you dug the hex crawl stuff. Not for me. A is solid. Really good start to the new campaign frames, I think. I'm sorry, what's a hex crawl? A hex crawl is, so you have a map. So you see like each one of these is like a hexagon. So you would like start here, say. And in this scenario, you would roll to find out what is in each of the conjoined things. And you would tell your players like, okay, this one is like a lava based biome. This one is like a forest, and this one is like an ocean. And you can even give them some details about what is in each one. So like this one has like a weird wizard tower. This one has a dangerous lake monster. And this one is plagued by pirate ships. And then the players can choose which one they go into. And when they enter another one, they get to know what's in the other three. And then you would roll for like encounters in each one. And it's a cool way of doing a TTRPG, for sure. Totally agree, seems incredible, but not for me. I'm stealing the world. I'm stealing the world. Next up, let's talk about Castle High, which is a wizard school. I say wizard school, it's not a wizard school, it's like a magic hero school. They've tried really hard, it feels like, to differentiate themselves from Harry Potter for reasons which I agree with. I was surprised because Harry Potter's not even in their like inspiration area. I think there has been some inspiration taken from Harry Potter, but is what it is. I don't want to talk about that anymore. But what I will say is it's kind of modern day magic. So there's people on laptops and mobile phones. I guess there's internet and there's emails and kind of all that jazz, but it's still set in a fantasy world. And the big part of this world is that there were these kind of stones known as, I think they're called sky shards. And they were kind of dormant for the longest time. They were just like rocks. And then something happened. It doesn't go into what, but suddenly they started floating into the sky, all these rocks. Some of them are tiny. Some of them are huge. Some of them are embedded in the ground, which means that castles and forests and entire towns, or even just smaller like single houses, all started to float. And they took these sky shards and they put them into objects like brooms and things so people could fly. So it's a world that is like, there's the below world, and then there's the cloud islands, the sky island kind of zone, which is very like Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And it's cool. Flying is a huge part of it. Like, the players are going to be kids going to this school that is floating in the sky, but they're going to be flying around and exploring other sky islands and doing all that jazz. I was very excited for this one because I've never ran like a kind of like fantasy high school kind of campaign in any system, and I thought this was going to be the one, but I actually found the world's cool and the vibes are cool, but compared to the other campaign frames, even ones from the core rulebook, we don't get a ton of information. I think it relies a lot on you just like having a very good idea of what this Magic High School would be like in your mind, because everyone has that idea, right? A few things about it is that there's like the player principles in here are just to play very like teen angsty, like it's a very role play heavy, very, very role play heavy. The GM principles are that you make it like a big adventure, but also very like emotional as well, very grounded. There's towers, which are like houses that you get slotted into, but the towers were a bit of a disappointment for me. I understand why they did it, but there's just not a ton of difference between what tower you go into, except for your like head teacher who runs your tower has a slightly different personality. There's a lot of blanks in this one. It's much shorter than I think even some of the ones in the core rulebook as well. So I just wish there was more information here, especially after Journey to Horizon had so much. The towers are called Zenith, Star, Bower, Stern, and Lock. And that alone doesn't have a great ring to me. I don't know, I'm being nitpicky, but I was just disappointed a little bit with that. The inciting incident is that kids have been going missing. The players have started a brand new year. Kids went missing last year, and this year, in the first week, one of their PC's friends goes missing. So it's a mystery about why these kids are disappearing. There's some examples of stuff that could be making the kids disappear. None of those it just didn't really hook me. It just didn't really hook me. There's flying mechanics in the game, but the flying mechanics are just use any trait you want, which is good, but once again, I don't know, I just wanted a little bit more information. I wanted like a sports game they play on brooms would have been nice. I think racing could be fun. I don't know, other campaign frames have like 5 more pages of information, and I appreciated that. I'm going to be ranking this like lower, and I want you to know it's simply in comparison to the others. For this, it's going in C. It's going in C. It really could have done with just a few more pages. Wow, this guy is Daggerheart. What's happening, Nerdcore? I think there are some people who will love this campaign frame, and it'll be S tier. For me, for example, I would have liked more information about how the school itself worked. Maybe a map of the school. I know the idea is that you build it yourself, but I think what I want, and the way that I look at Daggerheart campaign frames, is that it gives me more information than I need, and I ignore what I don't want and take what I do want, rather than just not getting the information at all. I'd rather get more and ignore it, and this just didn't have more. Yeah, I would have liked some advice, and a bit more advice into this one about how to run this kind of game. There was a lot of advice in the other ones about just kind of how to run that kind of campaign, that style, which I really liked, and how to play it as well. Biggest issue with Castelia is that it doesn't have an actual school mechanic, like classes and stuff, yes. So it'd make more sense that it's set during a school break or holiday. I wanted, like, the exams at the end of the year. How do they pass those? How do they, what's happening there? Are they, like, rolling every, semester to see how their grades are doing? Like, that would have been all really cool. Next up, we'll do Reign of the Were-Dragon, and then we'll do the Dark Heart of Andaloria, which I keep forgetting. You know what? Reign of the Were-Dragon, I was going in to it thinking I wasn't going to like it. The way that they had kind of described it early on, the idea in my head was that the players would create this bad guy together, almost like putting together a dragon that was like its actual individual physical parts and its abilities. So the players would build that together. It's like, okay, it's got wings. The wings look like bat wings. And the head is actually the head of a lion. And the tail is a scorpion tail. And its abilities are that it can charm people, but also ice breath. Because they were playing around with stuff like that in like the one-shots they were doing at conventions and stuff, as far as I know. So I was like, okay, that's where it's going to be. It didn't turn out to be that at all. The Were-Dragon one is classic fantasy. A land is ruled by a Dark Lord, which is this Were-Dragon, and the PCs are the chosen ones to liberate it. Is kind of like the main vibe. That's what it is. It's very classic fantasy. Evil Lord controlling a land. There is like the chosen ones. How are they going to defeat the big bad? Like the goal is very clear for the PCs from the start. It's very simple, which does not mean it's bad. It actually means it's quite good, I think. But yeah, I originally thought it was going to be like creating this monster physically. Not at all. It's actually it's got mechanics for creating this big bad guy with your players, but there's a ton of detail in this one again. It's kind of like Journey to Horizon, where the world is really robust and fleshed out. Like there's a ton of history there. You know what's happened like the past couple of hundreds of years and beyond, I think. And you get a ton of different factions and a ton of different actual NPCs that are fleshed out for you. It's probably one of the more fleshed out campaign frames where it feels like it's actually a setting book / an actual adventure. Like you don't need much else in this scenario. It really does take you through and hold your hand in a good way on how to run this classic fantasy adventure. Yeah, there's like even like a rollable table to figure out where the players need to go and what they need to what weapons they need to discover and where to get them to defeat the Were-Dragon. Most of the building the bad guy out is you know who the bad guy is from the get-go. You know a lot about the bad guy. But with your players during a session 0, you look at things like, is the bad guy having a secret affair with someone else? And then the players come up with that. Does the bad guy go to this location once every 6 months? Why? And you're building out like little parts of their personality and little parts of like the BBEG's like backstory and the things around them, which I actually think is really cool. I did come full circle on this. When I first read it, I was like, it's kind of, I don't know. Part of me doesn't like the art style either. I had to like separate those two things. But the more I thought about it and the more I looked at it, it's also a key thing where you go from like level 1 up to like level 8, 9, or 10, and that's when you fight the dragon at the end. So it's a clear path again, which I really like in these things of just how to like set up this adventure and structure it. And it's very Curse of Strahd coded in the way that the main characters are the PCs and the bad guy. Like, it's very clear. They even say, like, if you want to have the bad guy show up earlier in the campaign a few times and be a present figure, you can do that, which is a very, like, Curse of Strahd kind of vibe, where he's like, always there. Yeah, I think, after thinking about this a lot, I don't want to put it in S tier because it doesn't spark joy the same way other ones do, but as far as campaign frames go, I'm going to put it in A because it is a perfect, I think, blueprint for campaign frames. And I think all campaign frames should aspire to hit these marks. I think it's very, very good. And I think it's probably, if you were bringing players over from D&D, this is probably a really good one to start with. In fact, it used to be that I said the Witherwild was probably the best one to start with for like brand new Daggerheart GMs. Now I think it is the Were-Dragon. If you don't know where to start, I think it's solidly there. And then onto the Daggerheart of Andaloria. Once again, some really good world building. I've been surprised by how much, except for Castle High, how much these new campaign frames are actually just settings. Like, you get all the information you need as far as like the world goes and running the world with like factions and history and vibes. It's really useful, really cool. The whole vibe of this one is very like The Witcher or Castlevania-esque, especially like the Castlevania animated shows on Netflix. Something is causing more monsters to appear in the land, there's different factions with different like motivations and agendas who aren't always good. And the PCs are kind of monster hunters that are caught in the middle of the whole thing. It leans into its vibe so heavily that I've got so much respect for it. I would say like Castle High also leans into its vibes as well. So I've got respect for that. But this one is, I would say, more so even. For example, there's like equipment in there, and one of the pieces of armor you get is like a leather trench coat. So it's just, it knows what it is, which is this like cool Van Helsing style gothic Monster Hunter vibe. It also goes perfectly with the transformation cards, I feel like, as well. Like, I would love to run a campaign in this where the PCs are, you know, a werewolf, a vampire, and a ghost, and maybe trying to get rid of their curse. But just, it's so 1990s, 2000s Constantine vibe, where, you know, underworld vibe, everyone's in like leather jackets and are just the coolest they can possibly be. Blade style. Past that, though, the campaign also has like advice for structuring a hunt. It's got arrival, investigation, escalation, confrontation, and epilogue, which is like a structure for just like a session or like a story that I think is, you can take that and use in any other campaign frame or any other TTRPG, which is really where this one is like getting points from me. Like, it's got advice in there on how to run these styles of games, but you can take it and put it anywhere. The best thing about this one is it's got advice for reveals, which it calls liminal clues, which is where the players need to find out this information on how to kill this monster. There's like 5 pieces of information you need to kill it, like where the monster is, what the monster is weak to, is there a particular weapon you should use? Is it protected by something? You can come up with these reveals that the players need to like progress, or would find very useful to progress, and then you can just like drop them in where you need them. They can come from any NPC or clues in the environment. Like, if the players succeed well on something, you can just make it work and give them a piece of this advice and just slot it in narratively. That is something that I think Daggerheart specifically is really useful for. So yeah, I've got so much love for this, genuinely. But this is also my vibe. Monster of the Week, you know, X-Files meets Buffy meets supernatural style stuff in this gothic horror world. And I know, I would love to GM for it. I think it's S tier. I think it understood the assignment. Like, genuinely, it knows what it is. It is a very niche like genre and vibe that it leans into heavily, but then the mechanics in there and the advice in there will just, I think, make you a better Daggerheart GM all round. It's going to help you run games in different campaign frames, in different settings, in different TTRPGs in the future. Okay, so those are the 4 newest campaign frames. I'm looking at it now, I feel a bit harsh putting Castle High in C. Maybe it deserves B more, but I think it'll make more sense when we do the older campaign frames, and we'll speedrun this. So we'll start off with Beast Feast. I don't love Beast Feast. I think some people would love Beast Feast. I think it's for very specific people. For me, and I think this is why Castle High is so low, I don't love campaigns that are naturally default to being lighthearted and silly and comedy. Because I find in TTRPGs in general, players always pull things that way anyway. So I think starting more serious or darker, or like in a world that is kind of the straight man, the players will add a lot of humor and comedy and absurdness to it anyway. So I've just never liked it when it's... I also just like running more horror stuff. But Beast Feast is definitely on that lighter side. I also don't love the whole cooking mechanics stuff. I think it's nice to have. It's not like it's not a D by any means, but I think it's on the same level as Castle High. Maybe worse than Castle High. It's probably, we'll see when it gets down. It's not my least favorite, but it's down there. Age of Umber, you'll see a pattern here. Age of Umber, I really, really like. I think it is one of the more fleshed out of the legacy core rulebook campaign frames. And I think this is kind of cheating, but I really do think it. As far as like just how excited I am to run these campaign frames, Age of Umber has a huge advantage, which is that we have 1 season of a Critical Role, you know, mini campaign set in that world, and we're getting the second that's coming out now. So it is by far the most fleshed out one. And if you have new players coming in, you can just point them to those campaigns and be like, this is the kind of vibe. So I think I'm throwing it up in S. But I do like the horror theme. I do like the vibe. It definitely leans into that. What I think Campaign Frames should do, it leans into that genre. Colossus of the Drylands is also like that. I have a lot of respect for Colossus of the Drylands. The Western vibe, I'm not that interested in, but everything I said about Andaloria, I think Andaloria does it better, but it's obviously learned a lot from Colossus. It knows where it wants to be, it's got equipment, it has a leveling up mechanic, it has a cool thought out world. This one's going in A tier. 5 Banners Burning. I honestly, just from what I see online, I think 5 Banners Burning is slept on. I think some people look at it and think maybe it seems too complicated, but it's really not. You just need to learn like a little bit about 5 nations, which feels like a lot, but the 5 nations are so simple to understand. It's like Avatar coded. It's like, this is the Fire Nation, this is the Earth Nation. Except here it's like, this is the Seafaring Nation, this is the Religious Nation, this is like the War Military Nation. When I played my campaign in this, it brought out something from my players I've never seen before. There's something about 5 Banners Burning that makes players really like create compelling characters with flaws, because you can see that every kind of nation has like their benefits and their negatives, and they also have to like make characters that, I don't know, have to maybe disagree with the ideology of where they're from. It's just, I don't know, it brought out something in my players that I've never seen before, which I really liked, and they seem to really enjoy it as well, and just more complex kind of characters and decisions they were making. Like the what would my character do meme is like turned up to 11 with this. And it's not like my character would, murder this person because she's a murderer. It's like my character has this like history with this nation that is really complex, and there's like 2 options in front of him, and what's he gonna do? It's just really interesting. Next up is gonna be Motherboard. Motherboard is, I like the idea of it. It's sci-fi. It's too complex. I was trying to read through it again before I did this, just to like recap on it. I've not played in it. I kind of was just getting bored. It's like one of the longer campaign frames, and I know I was saying I prefer it when they're longer. It's 18 pages long. I think the sweet spot is around 14, 15 pages. So it's already longer. It's already very complex. I like sci-fi, Amici. I really do. But this one did not connect with it at all. And I would never recommend any like new people going in with it. It's a campaign frame that needs a ton of buy-in from the players as well, and explanations and all that jazz. And it just, even like some of the bigger ones with the ton of information about the worlds and stuff, you can still kind of jump straight into them, no issue. And I think that's what a campaign frame should be. You're just gonna, you take it, it's a launch pad, you jump into it, you go and see what happens. And I don't think Motherboard is that. So I think Motherboard is actually going in C as well. I think it's probably my least favorite one, unfortunately. I'm really hoping we get some more official sci-fi campaign frames, and even like a superhero campaign frame would be cool as well. But I would love to see one that's like, a starship, a Star Trek Enterprise style one. I think that'll be really, really cool. And that brings us to the final one, which is the Witherwild. This was my very first campaign frame. I ran quite a long campaign in it. I really enjoyed it. For the longest time, it was my go-to, like, if anyone didn't know where to start and they just wanted a vanilla fantasy kind of campaign frame, I would suggest going for this. Now I wouldn't. Now it's the Were-Dragon, I would say. But now that I've kind of sat with it and looked back on it with hindsight, and I've seen all the other campaign frames, for me, it actually didn't have enough information again. I remember I had to like fill in a lot of blanks for the Witherwild. It had some really cool ideas, like I think they're called the Crimson Ladies, which are these very rare flowers that can cure the sickness going around, which is the serpent sickness that turns people into stone. 2 really good ideas. It had this big city-state called Haven, and this huge forest called Fainwick, and they were at odds and almost at war with each other, and The vibe of it was very good. It had a very good, like, civilization versus nature kind of message to it, which I really liked. But I would have just loved a lot more information about the city of Haven and how it worked. It had, like, the leader of Haven and this leader of this terrorist organization. But then it had so much stuff about faint divinities, like an unlimited amount of faint divinities. The whole thing was just all these really good ideas that just weren't fleshed out enough for me, unfortunately. Still loved it. I still think it's a great one to run. Don't forget, S is like my favorite thing ever. I can't wait to play it. Let me play it now. A is, this is really good. I want to see more like this. And B is, this is good. It could be slightly better. I wish there was more information there. So I'm putting it in B. C is like, I'm a little bit disappointed. And D is, this is bad. I don't want to play it. I don't think any of these campaign frames are in D. I'm kind of interested to know what you guys think. If you would agree with me, do you guys think any of these campaign frames are like bad? I don't think that's the case. And that's not me just being generous. I think if I had to put one in D, it would be Motherboard for me. I just bounced off that so hard. But I have so much respect for what Motherboard is trying to do that I can't do that. I think it is in C. And I think this is kind of, if I move this here, this is the order we're looking at of my favorite stuff. So it would be Andaloria, Age of Umbra, Horizon, Were Dragon, Five Banners, Colossus, Witherwild, Castle High, Beast Feast, and Motherboard. That's kind of my tier list. All right, it's almost 6 o'clock here. I'm done. I've got no more content. I only planned one thing, and it was a tier list. I'll catch you guys next time, maybe even tomorrow.